Which event is considered the closest the Cold War came to escalating into a full-scale nuclear war? Berlin blockade, Korean War, Cuban Missile Crisis, Vietnam War.
Cuban Missile Crisis. The Cuban Missile Crisis is the correct answer. Explanation: the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 involved the Soviet Union secretly placing nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from the United States. This was a direct threat to the US, prompting President Kennedy to order a naval blockade of Cuba. For 13 days, the world teetered on the brink of nuclear war. Tensions were incredibly high, with both sides considering military action. The eventual resolution involved the Soviets removing the missiles in exchange for the US promising not to invade Cuba and secretly removing US missiles from Turkey. The close proximity of deployed nuclear weapons and the potential for miscalculation or escalation made it the closest the world came to all-out nuclear conflict. The Berlin blockade was a significant early Cold War event, but it was primarily a conventional military and political challenge. While it increased tensions, it did not involve the direct deployment of nuclear weapons and the immediate threat of their use. The Korean War was a proxy war between the US and Soviet Union, but it did not bring the superpowers to the same level of direct confrontation as the Cuban Missile Crisis. There was a threat of nuclear war, but it was not as immediate or as likely. The Vietnam War was a prolonged and devastating conflict, but despite significant US involvement and the threat of wider war, it did not pose the same immediate risk of nuclear exchange as the Cuban Missile Crisis.